Hi, this is immigration attorney Karlene, and today we're going to talk about the differences between the E-2 visa and the E-1 visa. Do you have to be a big corporation in order to apply for either visa? Can one person alone by themselves apply for the E-2 visa or the E-1 visa? And which one is faster and which one is better? We're going to talk about that in this video. So what are some differences or similarities between the E-2 visa and the E-1? Well, for the E-2 visa, it's important that you make an investment within the United States and you have a certain amount of money that you need to invest. Usually $100,000 or more is a good investment for an E-2 visa. Now, the E-1 doesn't require any amount necessarily to invest, but you need to have a company where you do substantial trade between the United States and your country. Now, a lot of people who are in the import-export business, for example, will opt more for the E-1 visa rather than the E-2 visa. People who invest in the United States and they want to stay here and do a lot of their business here, like they buy a restaurant, they buy a gas station, they will opt more for the E-2 visa. Now, the similarities are between both visas that the principal applicant will get approved, the principal applicant will get a social security number, the principal applicant, the spouse, for example, can also work in the United States. With the E-2 and with the E-1, both can work. It's also important to remember that in both cases, you've got to be at least 50% owner of the company, whether you are investing or whether you're trading. Both the E-2 and the E-1 visa must be an approved country by the United States in order to continue to trade and in order to invest. We need to keep checking those companies with the USCIS website because they add companies, they remove companies. So in order for you to know whether you qualify or not, you need to check those frequent basis in order to know if you qualify or not. So for the E-1 visa, how much trade is necessary? Now, in order for this to work, in order for you to get approved for the E-1 visa, you must have substantial trade. It cannot be a one-time thing. It has to be an ongoing trade. So you have to prove to the USCIS that you have a business that's viable and trade between your company and the United States is ongoing. It's not just a one-time thing. What are some preferred products? None really. You can invest in any kind of product. You can invest in any kind of company that carries any kind of product. Immigration doesn't discriminate on or have a preference on products. And as far as trade is concerned, what is beneficial, what is good, whatever you can do substantial amount of trading, immigration will accept that. There's one big difference with the E-2 and the E-1 visa. With the E-2 visa, you must have a business plan because it's an investment. With the E-1, you don't necessarily need a business plan for the USCIS, except that you need to prove that you have products that are of value to the United States and that you're going to engage in substantial trade with the United States. Many people are probably sometimes confused or they want to know which is better, which visa is better. None really is better. It depends on what's best for you. So if you want to be in the United States and you want to invest in a company and you want to show that you want to grow your company and you want to put employees there and you want to make money from that company eventually, I guess the E-2 would be best for you. Now, if you prefer not to do a business plan, you prefer not to be cornered into a certain amount of investment, and you would prefer a little bit more flexibility with trade, the E-1 would be better for you. Now, one of the advantages of the E-2 is that if you grow the company to such an extent that you have reached the point where you have invested more than $1 million in the company, at some point you can apply for your permanent residence because you can track that amount of money that you have invested in the company. People sometimes start out with an investment of, let's say, $100,000, $300,000, but then they put more money into the company to expand, to grow the company, have more employees, have a bigger location, have a bigger building, more equipment, more clients. In that case, And E2 might be better for you if you're thinking long term and you're thinking eventually I'd like to apply for my permanent residence. Then that would be a good way to decide whether you want to do an E2 visa rather than an E1. The E1, yes, you have to keep the trade going. You can also grow the company, but with the E2, it's just a little bit easier to track than the E1. Is the E1 renewable like the E2? Yes, it is. You can, if you get approved within the United States, you can renew the E1 as well as much as you can renew an E2. If you get approved at the embassy, the same thing, you can renew the visa. You can renew the visa outside of the country. You can renew the visa inside of the country. So both visas are renewable, and there's no limit on the renewal of the visas. So you can do that and renew your visa and live in the United States. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel. We put out videos like this all the time to keep you informed, and we would like you to follow us. There's one video I think you'd really like. The link is up here or the description is below. Follow us.